So may the words of my mouth and the meditation of all our hearts be acceptable unto thee, O Lord. Amen. And please be seated. Hallelujah! Christ is risen. Yeah, y'all nailed it. That's so good to say. And because Christ is risen from the dead, he has turned the tomb of darkness into a womb to light. He has transformed a cross of death into this trellis of life. And to understand how such an amazing transformation can take place, we got to spend time with Christ. Spend time with Jesus in the scriptures. Spend time with Christ in community with the Holy Spirit. Spend time with Jesus in liminal spaces. Those places in between life and death. And the best places to go and experience this thin place is cemeteries. I think all of our spiritual lives would be a lot better off if we spent more time in cemeteries. I didn't always used to think this. It wasn't until 2008 when the Italian side of my family, the Barzettis, decided to go back to the old country, to go back to Italy. And the chief architect of that trip was my Aunt Tina. Tina, named for Battista Muzzicelli, right? It doesn't get more Italian. Right? And Aunt Tina got to plan the trip. And Aunt Tina loves cemeteries. And as one of the perks to planning the trip, she drug us to every cemetery from Genoa to Rome to Florence. And y'all, that first part of the trip, I was so annoyed. Right? It was another detour to another cemetery. And then we came to Venice. How many of y'all have been to Venice? Anybody been to Venice? Yeah, there's a few. Okay, wow. Where is the cemetery in Venice? Where? No, not in the city. No, anyone? It's on it. Yeah, there it is. I heard it. It's on an island. It's a whole island that is a cemetery. The cemetery at San Michele. St. Michael's Cemetery. And it lies in between downtown Venice, Venice proper, and the island of Murano, right, where they blow all that beautiful Venetian glass. And most tourists just cruise right on by, go get your glass and head back to the city. But not our family. No, Tina, Marie, Barzetti, Lewis made sure we spent all afternoon on this island cemetery. And y'all, it was one of the most peaceful afternoons of my life. It's a way in which cemeteries wrap us in a bubble of peace. And I suspect it had something to do with the fact that it was an island, but it felt even more true there in the heart of Venice. We stepped, 10 feet into the cemetery, and the din of the boats and the traffic just died away. The chatter of tourists disappeared. It felt safe. It felt quiet. And not just quiet in the lack of noise, but quiet in the sense that we were shielded from all the assaults of the world. The trees, the tombs, the gardens, right? It just felt so stable, so rooted, so real. Even to this day, I can go into the San Marcos Cemetery, which is a beautiful cemetery, by the way, sit down, and I can feel my heart rate drop. That's the beauty of cemeteries. They are like wombs. They cocoon us in a place of safety and of health. The Choctaw elder and former bishop of Alaska, Stephen Charleston, first introduced me to this idea of tomb as womb in his first book, The 4 Vision Quests of Jesus. And he devotes the last chapter of that book to the women at the tomb. He says these women at the tomb are less like funeral attendants and more like midwives, helping Jesus give birth to a new humanity, helping Jesus give birth to our resurrected bodies. And we still see that theology at work in the way we honor saints. The feast day of saints is not on their birthdays, the days in which they were born into this earth. The feast day of saints is on the day they died, on the day they were born into the life eternal. And so here we are on Easter Sunday celebrating the fact that Jesus has been born again. He has been transformed. And in his transformation, he has opened the door for all of us to be transformed. He has made it possible for us to find a new pattern to live and to believe. Right? Bishop Charleston's second book is called Ladder to the Light. And the general idea is that we have lots of deaths and lots of resurrections all through our lives. And how we look at those chaotic times in our lives really influences our faith. And our faith really influences how we see that. So instead of seeing it as chaos and despair and hopelessness, like something's dying and we're on our way to the tomb, what if we looked at it as an incubation period, as a place where we are preparing ourselves for something new to be born? Elder Charleston goes on to say that this is not unlike the Hopi Kivas, right? The underground worship sanctuary in which you crawl out a ladder to the light. And he says our Christian virtues are like the rungs of that ladder, leading us into that resurrected light. Faith, hope, courage, action, leading us to a place where we see the world more clearly as it is, where we can testify that love is stronger than hate, right? That life is bigger than death, that the cross is not an instrument of shame, but a symbol, a trellis of abundant life. And to understand how that fully comes to be, we got to go to a different cemetery. All right, what is the most biodiverse place in New York City? Central Park. That was the guess I was looking for. No. Right. But the place I'm talking about was inspired Frederick Law Olmsted to create Central Park. It's a cemetery. Hello. Now the name just went out of my head. It's in Brooklyn across from Prospect Park. Wood. Oh, man, this is so embarrassing. What's that? All right, we'll call it, okay, now, all right, so it's Woodburn. No, that's not it. What? Greenwood, there it is, my wife, your preacher, throwing me a lifeline. I know. Lord have mercy. Let's go. Greenwood Cemetery, right? Which, interestingly enough, you cannot run through. I found that out the hard way, too. And it's a good thing, right? Because we have to slow down to notice all the life coming out everywhere. It's layered. You have the hardwood deciduous trees, and then the bushes, and then the ferns, and then the flowers. Everywhere you turn, life coming out of death. And y'all, there is no better image for the kingdom of God than life abundant coming out of the midst of death. That's what the kingdom of God looks like. And that is why so many authors think of heaven or the kingdom of God as a garden. Right? It's no mistake that Mary calls Jesus the gardener. Everybody from C.S. Lewis in The Last Battle to John, son of Zebedee, has this image of heaven as the kingdom, as a garden. And we think about John's gospel, and that fits, right? John's gospel, we know, is just a little different. And it's different in some ways because it likes to parallel the creation story, right? We have Genesis 1. In the beginning, the earth was void. The Spirit was moving over the waters. And then we get John 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, right? That paralleling. And it continues. The fall of Adam, right, is offset, is made up for, is made right, is reconciled, healed with the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Adam and Eve were the first gardeners whose selfishness got us exiled from a right relationship with God. And then we see Christ and Mary. They are the new gardeners. They are the ones that are bringing us home to God. And so, friends, in that process, the cross goes from being this sign of death and shame and exile to what we see before us. This beautiful trellis of the life abundant and homecoming. Y'all, the best image of the resurrection is not the empty crucifix. It's not even the empty tomb. The best image of the resurrection is this flowered cross. Well done. So go forth from this place to the great 50 days of Easter. Y'all, we got 49 more days. All right. Go forth from this place. Go and check out a cemetery, y'all. Go to the San Marcos Cemetery. It is one of the most peaceful places in the city. And they have a peacock. Did y'all know that? Yeah. You met Pete the peacock. Curiously enough, peacocks are also an ancient Christian symbol of the resurrection. But that's another sermon. Go forth from this place to see your tombs as wombs, right? Read some Stephen Charleston. Practice climbing that ladder to the lights. Go forth from this place to lift high the flowered cross and to echo Mary Magdalene, that gardener of the recreation, that first apostle who said to the world, "Alleluia, Christ is risen," to which the world responded, "Amen."